To ride out this morning. Johnny, you legend, how are you doing? Are you well?
Good morning, how are you?
Very well, thank you very much. Listen, congratulations, you were top jockey at Ascot last week, isn't that right?
I was, yes, it was a great week.
Great, and you also, Yeats did it yet again.
He did, yeah, he's a marvellous horse. 4 Gold Cups in a row, never been done before, so...
And you were on it twice, you were on him twice, weren't you?
I was, yes, the last twice.
Okay, and he's now being talked about in the newspapers, like, you know, in the same breath as Red Rum and Istabrack and Desert Orchid, and like just a classic racehorse.
Yes, well, see, the jumping, they seem to stay around a bit longer. You know, usually the flat horses are gone after their 3 or 4 year old career, but thankfully everybody kept this lad in training, and he's 8 now, so the people have got to see him a lot, and he's got his own little fan club.
And listen, you are now the ambassador for Horse Racing Ireland, the flat ambassador, so I'm sure you're looking forward to the Derby at the Curragh this weekend. Well,
like this week is our Ascot, you know, we've got Friday, Saturday, Sunday at the Curragh. Marvellous racing, Group 1 race, Pretty Polly Stakes on the Saturday, and then they Dubai Duty Free Irish Derby on the Sunday, so it's a huge week for us. Lots going on, you know, music Friday night, you know, all the great chefs from around Ireland on Friday and Saturday, so people are going to be well entertained, well fed, and it'll be a huge weekend.
And listen, I mean, it's always a great social event, and I mean, with the Taste of Ireland down there as well this year, but the racing is very important too. I mean, the thing I've often wondered about with horse racing, and with somebody like you who's so successful, and then somebody like Yeats, the horse. I mean, which is most important, the horse or the jockey?
Listen, the horse is most important. They do all the running. You know, we just sit in the backs and steer them around, and you know, I'm the ambassador, but really people go to see the horses. You know, the horses are the real stars of the show, so I'd love to take all the credit for it, but unfortunately the horse does all the running. Yeah, but you do find that a pattern emerges that somebody like yourself ends up being the named jockey, so obviously there is a huge influence that you actually put on the horse. Or is there some sort of gelling that, you know, you kind of you have some chemistry going with a certain horse like you would with a human being? Well, I suppose, listen, I like riding horses, working. I ride them in the mornings, and you get to know the horses, so you know what they like and what they don't like, and the main thing is to play to their strengths. Yeah.
So you identify what that is, and then you go for it. Are you actually on a horse now at the moment?
Yeah, we're just sitting on one now, getting ready to go, yeah.
And this is every day you do this, is it?
Every day, yeah. Go down. I'm right down the Curragh this morning, but most days I go down to Ballydoyle and ride out down there. Yeah. And I go down there 4 days a week.
You're the number one jockey there, isn't that right?
That's it.
So that means that you get the choice? I mean, if they say, which one do you want, Johnny, is that the way it is?
That's the way it is, you know, you ride them all working, then when the big race comes along, if we have 3 or 4 in the race, they just say, which one would you like to ride, Johnny? So, yeah, the choice is mine.
So you'd be I
don't always get it right.
Well, you're getting it right pretty well. So you'd be like, say, the Pat Kenny, you know, in broadcasting terms, you'd be like the Pat Kenny, yeah?
Well, I don't know about that.
And I believe you didn't actually start riding horses, or actually even get on a horse until you were 16.
Yes, I came up to the apprentice school in Kildare when I was 15, and that's where it all started for me. So, you know, it's you don't have to be you know, bred into it. You know, you can start. But I was always into sport. Yeah. You know, and I always liked to compete. So, you know, it was as soon as I got here, I knew it was for me. Yeah. You know, but listen, I think it's a wonderful business to be in. It's a great sport, and you know, we're lucky. You know, there's still lots of jobs around here. There's if you say you're Irish and you work with horses, anywhere in the world, there's a lot of Irish people working, you know, all over the world. That's
right, and I mean, and it has a fantastic reputation, Irish horse racing, doesn't it? You know, so I mean.
You know, that's it. Once you say you're Irish, you work with horses, it opens a lot of doors.
All right. Listen, it's lovely talking to you, and roll on the weekend, the Derby at the Curragh this weekend. Johnny Murtagh, it's been a pleasure, and continued success to you and all that you are involved in. Thanks a million, Johnny. Cheers.
Lovely, listen, we're looking forward to seeing you this weekend.
Yes, indeed. See you later. Good luck.
Bye-bye.
Check it out. The Derby at the Curragh this coming weekend. If you want tickets, by the way, tomorrow morning at 7:30, we can do it for you.
Remember that guy?